It's a Tuesday in July, the kind of afternoon where the air outside feels thick enough to lean against. You walk into your kitchen and something is off. The hum you never noticed is gone. The vent above the fridge is blowing warm air or nothing at all. Within an hour, the house has climbed 6 degrees. The dog is panting. The kids are complaining. Your phone is already open, and you are scrolling through 5-star reviews with the urgency of someone booking a paramedic. 2 hours later, a van pulls into your driveway, and you feel a strange kind of gratitude you have never felt for a plumber or an electrician. A polite man in a company polo walks in, disappears into your utility closet for 20 minutes, and comes back with a clipboard. You sign something. You barely read it. By the time he leaves, you have spent more than you paid for your first car, and you are relieved. The house is cooling down. The problem is gone. Almost nobody questions that invoice. The discomfort was worse than the bill, and the bill fades faster than the memory of the heat. But here is the thing worth pausing on. That quiet, unremarkable transaction in your driveway is one of the most consistently profitable moments in American small business. And almost nobody outside the industry realizes it. Because if HVAC is really just a boring trade, the way it looks from the sidewalk, then somebody needs to explain why private equity firms are currently buying up local HVAC shops faster than they are buying dentists, veterinarians, and auto repair chains combined. Here is the contradiction that runs underneath everything you are about to hear. From the outside, HVAC looks like a low-status, high-labor, blue-collar trade. Sweaty work, attic crawls, old vans. The kind of job a guidance counselor mentions when a student is not headed for college. And yet, the average established HVAC business in a mid-sized American city runs profit margins that quietly outperform most tech startups after their third year. The owners retire wealthy without ever looking wealthy. They drive the same trucks. They live in the same neighborhoods. Their kids go to state schools. Meanwhile, if you listen to the industry itself, the story is the opposite. Trade publications complain about labor shortages, refrigerant regulations, rising equipment costs, and thin margins. It is a public narrative of struggle, but that narrative does not match what is actually happening behind the scenes, which is one of the largest, quietest acquisition frenzies in the American economy. So, which story is true? If the margins are really thin, why are billion-dollar funds racing to consolidate mom-and-pop HVAC shops in every metro area from Phoenix to Nashville to Tampa? The answer starts with a simple shift in how you look at the business. Because to understand HVAC, you have to stop seeing it as a repair service and start seeing what it actually sells. Let's begin with the version everyone believes, because it sounds right. In the public imagination, HVAC companies install and repair heating and cooling systems. They charge for parts and labor. They send technicians on service calls. They make their money on volume, especially during the peak seasons when everyone's units are working overtime. It is framed as a trade, with hourly rates and seasonal spikes and a reasonable markup on equipment. That is the version homeowners believe. It is the version most journalists repeat. It is even the version most young technicians are told when they enter the industry. And on the surface, it is not wrong. It is just enormously incomplete. Because if this were really how the money worked, the math would not add up. A single truck doing 4 or 5 service calls a day cannot generate the revenue these companies actually report. Something else is going on, and it does not happen when the technician shows up at your door. It happens in the 15 minutes after he opens your unit. Watch what really occurs during that visit. The technician removes the front panel of your system. He plugs in a small diagnostic tool, and in that moment, the entire economics of the interaction quietly shift in his favor. You are hot. Your family is uncomfortable. You have already emotionally committed to the idea of solving this problem today. You have no ability to price check, no way to verify what he sees, no baseline for what the parts should cost. You are, in the language of the industry, a captured customer. He comes out with three options. There is almost always a repair option, which he does not really want you to pick. There is a mid-tier replacement option, which is priced to feel reasonable compared to the top one. And there is a premium option, which exists mainly to make the middle one look like the sensible choice. This is not improvisation. It is a pricing sheet. Most large HVAC operations now use a formal good, better, best structure, tuned over thousands of visits to nudge customers toward the middle tier. That is how a $180 service call becomes a $12,000 system replacement in under an hour. Not through pressure, through timing, but even this is not the real profit engine. The diagnostic moment is just the door. What is behind the door is stranger, and it is the thing that quietly explains why so much serious money is pouring into this industry, because the actual fortune in HVAC is not made on the day of the repair. It is made on every day after. Before the technician leaves your driveway, he will offer you one more thing: a maintenance plan, a membership, usually somewhere between $15 and $30 a month, framed as a way to keep your new system running smoothly, 2 tune-ups a year, priority service, discounts on future repairs. It is pitched as a favor to you, a way to save money over time. And on paper, that is what it looks like. What it actually does is lock you in. Once you are on that plan, you almost never call a competitor. You do not shop around when something goes wrong, because your provider is already on file. You have a relationship, you have prepaid for something, and over the next 10 or 15 years, every repair, every replacement, every referral to a neighbor flows through the same company. A well-run HVAC business with 2,000 active members has a floor of predictable annual revenue before a single new customer ever calls in. That is not a repair shop. That is a subscription business dressed in work boots. Think about what that actually means. The retention math looks like a software company. The lifetime value of a customer looks like a software company. The recurring revenue looks like a software company. It just happens to involve refrigerant instead of code. And once you understand that, a second question becomes unavoidable. If HVAC is quietly a subscription business, who is buying up all these subscription bases, and why are they paying multiples of revenue that no plumber or roofer ever commanded? The answer is not in your neighborhood. The answer is in a boardroom you have never heard of. Somewhere in Manhattan or Chicago or Dallas, a private equity fund has spent the last few years quietly executing something called a roll-up. The strategy is simple, elegant, and largely invisible to the public. Buy a small local HVAC company from a founder in his late 60s who has no succession plan. Pay roughly 4 times its annual earnings. Keep the old name on the truck. Keep the old logo on the polo shirt. Keep the phone number the same, but quietly move the accounting, the dispatch, the pricing, and the training into a centralized back office. Then buy the next one down the road. And the next one, and the next one. Within 3 years, one fund can quietly own 8 or 10 of the HVAC brands in a single metro area, and no local customer notices. When the fund has assembled enough of these, the whole platform is valued not at 4 times earnings, but at 10, sometimes 14. Then it is sold to a bigger fund, which will keep rolling. That is a 2 to 3 times return on the whole stack, financed largely with borrowed money. The reason HVAC is uniquely perfect. For this game comes down to a few unglamorous facts. The industry is fragmented, with tens of thousands of small operators. Most founders are aging out with no clear buyer. The service is essential and cannot be replaced by an app. It is immune to Amazon. Immune, at least so far, to artificial intelligence. Immune to offshoring, because someone has to physically climb into your attic. Tens of billions of dollars have now been deployed into this category in a market most Americans still assume is run by neighborhood shops. The family HVAC company you have used for 15 years may already not be a family HVAC company. It may just be wearing the family's old jersey, which raises an obvious question. If the money is this good and the strategy is this clean, why have most people never heard about it? Why does the culture still treat HVAC as a fallback career? And the answer is that the industry benefits enormously from being underestimated. Its profits depend on it. Think about your own behavior in that emergency. You did not comparison shop. You did not ask for a second opinion. You did not look up the wholesale price of the part he replaced. You could not have, even if you had wanted to. The average homeowner does not know the difference between a SER rating and a serial number. You do not know what tonnage your house needs, or which refrigerant is being phased out, or what a variable speed blower actually does. So you trust the person in front of you, and the blue-collar image works as a kind of camouflage. A customer who would negotiate ruthlessly with a lawyer, who would push back on a hospital bill line by line, who would spend 3 weekends researching a new car, will hand over $15,000 to a friendly guy in a company polo without making a second phone call. The cultural assumption that this is a modest trade keeps competition low, keeps labor cheap, keeps regulation light, and keeps margins wide. Being unglamorous is not a weakness in this industry. It is the business model. But here is where it gets more deliberate than most people realize. That polite man in your utility closet is not improvising. Behind him is an entire infrastructure of software that turns every home visit into a scored, tracked, optimized data point. Most large HVAC operations now run on platforms with names most homeowners have never seen. ServiceTitan is the biggest, though there are competitors. These systems handle dispatching, invoicing, customer history, and technician performance. Every call is logged. Every technician is ranked by something the industry calls average ticket, meaning the average revenue they generate per visit. The top performers are promoted. The bottom performers are coached. And the scripts they use are not casual. They walk a technician through the emotional beats of the diagnostic conversation, the exact language to introduce the 3 options, the moment to pause, the way to present the membership. Bonus structures are tied not to hours worked, not to jobs completed, not even to customer satisfaction in the way you would expect, but to revenue generated per visit. Which means the incentive of the person standing in your basement is not to keep your old system alive. It is to close a bigger ticket. Once you see that, the whole industry reclassifies itself in your mind. HVAC is not a trade with software layered on top. It is a sales operation with a trade attached to it. The product being sold is not cool air. The product being sold is a decision made under stress by someone who does not have the information to make it any other way. And when a business model gets this efficient, it does not stay contained to your driveway. As the roll-ups consolidate, prices drift upward. Not dramatically, not overnight, but steadily. Independent shops that cannot match the marketing budgets or the software stacks quietly close. In many mid-sized cities, what looks like a competitive market with dozens of brands is actually an oligopoly wearing dozens of costumes. 3 different vans in 3 different driveways may be sending their invoices to the same holding company. There is also an environmental cost worth naming. Replacement is more profitable than repair, so the incentive baked into every diagnostic visit tilts towards selling you a new system rather than extending the life of your old one. Multiply that across millions of homes a year, and you get a slow, invisible acceleration of manufacturing, shipping, and landfill. Old units that could have run for another 5 years get pulled and crushed. New units get financed on 12-year loans. The grid absorbs the extra load. The atmosphere absorbs the extra refrigerant. Nobody in your driveway is a villain. The incentives are just pointing in a very specific direction. So what is the honest name for this industry once you strip away the polo shirts and the truck decals and the language of service? HVAC is not really a repair industry. It is a distressed decision industry. The thing being sold is not comfort. It is the resolution of a panic. Every layer of the model, from the tiered pricing sheet to the membership plan, to the roll-up strategy, to the software that scores every conversation, exists for one purpose: to monetize a moment in which the customer cannot say no. That is why the margins are so quietly enormous. That is why the smartest money in the country has been buying in for over a decade while nobody was watching. And that is why the industry works so hard, culturally, to keep looking like something smaller than it is, which means the next time your AC dies on a Tuesday afternoon in July, you are not really being sold a machine. You are being sold something older than that. You are being sold the fastest possible exit from your own discomfort, so picture the driveway again. The same heat, the same van pulling in, the same friendly technician walking to your door with a clipboard. Nothing about the scene has changed. But now you see the diagnostic panel differently. You hear the 3 options differently. You understand why the membership is offered before he leaves. You have a rough idea of who probably owns the company on the side of that truck, and it may not be the name painted on it. The transaction is the same. You are the one who is different. And once you start seeing this pattern in HVAC, it becomes very hard to unsee it anywhere else. In plumbing, in roofing, in pest control, in water damage restoration, in every essential service that shows up at your door precisely when you are least able to negotiate. The same playbook is running in all of them at different speeds, in different stages of consolidation. Most of the truly profitable businesses in America are not the ones we celebrate. They are the ones we barely notice right up until the moment we need them. If that idea is interesting to you, there is a lot more thread to pull, because the next unassuming industry hiding a model just like this one is already lining up for its turn. You now have a lens you did not have 10 minutes ago. See what it shows you.